Dr. Clement Apak is a member of parliament for Busa
South.
or Busa South.
See North, that will come after you.
I wanted to say South though.
Good.
And then he's in the studio with Emmanuel Chamanting Jakon. He's a member of parliament for Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Great.
And Dr. Park is my constituent.
Yes.
Before he moved his vote.
He lives there?
He
Well,
lived
as
and
a
worked
lecturer.
Yeah.
Yes,
I was
I know.
in the days you used to come and interview me at Radio Universe. I was his active constituent. In fact, I was the constituent of the current chief of staff, and then he came to take over. So
yes.
I'm quite privileged.
I think by academic trade, you are an anthropologist. Oh,
yes,
okay.
with a leaning towards what we call ethno-archaeology.
I see.
The combination of the two. Yeah.
Anyway, I used to interview him back in the day, though. So, but let's look at the most topical of the issues is about 110 ministers supposedly being an over-bloated constituency of government appointees ever in our democracy. Mr. Chamantejakon, what do you say about?
Good morning.
I'm surprised I didn't see you there because you had been instrumental in the MPP beefing up its communication activities, even though not on a formal basis, but contributing your quota to making sure you shape public opinion about what the MPP would do and what it could do. And indeed, you have the track record of performing well in public office. Because
good morning, Roland, and good morning to viewers, and thank you for compliment. But let me state for the records that it is not a one-to-one correlation. The fact that you contributed, the fact that you helped, the fact that you have a track record does not necessarily mean that you must become a minister. I think that there's a lot of work in Parliament, and I am extremely happy to tell you that I'm extremely
You're extremely happy with your state now.
I am extremely happy being a member of Parliament. Yes, for the first time in the history of, I don't know whether it's this Fourth Republic or some are saying since the beginning, since independence, this is a government that has had the largest number of ministers. It's a fact. And I have heard people talk about it is overbloated, use words like overbloated, excessive, too much. When I got in here, the first thing I asked was that, did the Constitution prescribe the number of ministers? No. So, first and foremost, I want to establish that constitutionally, by law, His Excellency the President has not, as it were, broken the law. People have always spoken about lean government. My challenge is, what is big, what is fat, and what is lean? I think it is a matter of definition. Okay. But it throws me back to the early days when, in 2000, when we're campaigning, and the then candidate Kufuor spoke about the same thing. The previous government, the government of President Rawlings was overbloated and all of this. But you see, after he became president, and then he faced the reality, I remember very clearly, His Excellency came back one day and said that if you sit outside, you misjudge. Okay. And attempted to offer some justification for the numbers he had. I think what we must all do is that we must give His Excellency the President a benefit of the doubt from where he sits and the commitment he has made to the good people of this country. I think we must give him some space to deliver on his promises. Look, a key plank in our manifesto was that we were going to create regions.
You said 2018 you would have started the formalities.
Number one. And that we were going to ensure that MMDCs are elected.
2018.
Yeah, somebody will say, oh, why don't you give it to local government? But His Excellency the President has a specific promise. He has made a specific promise to the good people of this country. So for the first time, we are finding a minister whose responsibility is to ensure that this regionalization takes place. I believe it has a sunset clause. Once it is achieved, tax delivered, okay. I am of the view that they say he will know better. I am told that Machiavelli the Prince said that the end must justify the means. His Excellency the President has promised, and my colleagues on the other side keep saying, I have heard one of them say, the minority say, that we are going to drown under our promises. I believe that if we are not going to allow ourselves to drown, we need a lot of hands to hold it up. The mark as to whether this is justified or this is not justified will come 3 years from now. If we begin to see a quantum change in the life and the living standards of the good people of this country, I am telling you, Roland, nobody is going to talk about the number of ministers. The last I will say in this preliminary round is I have heard this morning when I was coming here, I heard on the Joy News, somebody was saying that in the UK there are 13 ministers. Indeed, it is not so. The last time I checked, there were over 120 ministers in the UK. They are ministers. They are ministers of states. They call them secretaries, and they are ministers. There's a minister for the army. There's a minister for the navy. There's a minister for the police. There's a minister for immigration.
That's UK. It's one of the biggest economies in the world.
I am just trying to develop an argument. Beyond that, the UK has one of the best public service as an institution. Okay. Government is about delivering the public goods. Okay. And you need a certain mechanism, a certain body to deliver it. I think that the challenge, okay, is that, and I stand to be corrected. I have done political civil service before and political public service before, and I'm very wary when people over-criticize the public service. But I am thinking that His Excellency the President is looking at the public service as it is now and feels that he needs point men in some of the places to be able to deliver on his agenda. And it is not just there. And when you go to the US of A, and we can check, they have a secretary for treasury. They have a deputy.
Now that's the USA.
We are talking about Ghana. It's a very different. The good people of America need the public goods to be delivered in the same way, even in a more pressing manner. In a more pressing manner, the good people of this country certainly needs the public goods to be delivered. Okay, and in the view of His Excellency the President, he needs his point men there to do what.
For example, in the U.S., even the state of California's economy is almost 7 times that of Ghana. So that's the only for.
So you don't want us. No, you don't want us to form a team that will bring us. You said it is 7 times
the economy of Ghana. Really?
Yeah. So you don't want us to form a team. Billion. You don't want us to form a team that will cut. That will bring us half. Today, the size of our economy is 38 billion. You don't want us to form a team that 4 years from now will say that we have brought the size of this economy to 70 billion. I am saying that will be the mark. Okay. So His Excellency the President appointed 110 ministers.
If you were in opposition, let's say you were in the seat of Dr. Park,
Yes.
Well, not having hindsight of government, what would have been your position on this?
Oh,
Appointing
I am not expecting Dr. Park. I am expecting Dr. Park to seek political capital out of this.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
Right. Because you just came into his previous state just recently.
I am saying
that's why
that
I'm asking.
I will be extremely surprised if my very good friend Clement says anything differently.
Okay. What's your view on this? Just
well, very well,
your
Roland.
preliminary.
Well, let me say good morning to you and my MP. You know, as
you still live in
an academic who
or
is
you
on
don't
I'm on leave of absence.
Okay.
You know, if the dynamics change someday, I might be back. So
when we came here, I was telling him that
I've always,
he must find a way. He must not completely stop teaching.
Yes. So
he probably needs to teach
once
some
a while,
graduate class.
it's good to go and keep myself acquainted with what is going on in the classroom. It's a good suggestion, and I take it. And good morning to the people of Bulsa South, Bulsa Mapusiba. They're always watching. Roland, you see, my MP and my senior colleague in Parliament is very witty.
He's very.
He has a good wit.
Okay.
And I like the way he concluded his submission. He has put me on the spot. But he's right, obviously.
He's a great political communicator.
I know. I admit. In fact, everything you said about him earlier on, I've always known. So
I know him very well, so I know what I'm saying.
His due. And he just demonstrated that, seeking to dampen my venom in terms of making a political meal, and indeed a legitimate one, so to speak, at this development. But we must agree on some basic facts. Indeed, the Constitution does not prohibit or prevent His Excellency President Akufo-Addo from making appointments. If you read that portion of the Constitution, I think it gives him the leverage to take as many as he believes would help him deliver in as far as the work of government is concerned. But we also have what we call public perception and, if you like, moral prohibitions. And that comes into being largely based on recent history, our political dynamics, and pronouncements made by the MPP when the MPP was in opposition. And on that score, it makes it very difficult not to pay attention to what clearly seems to be an about turn in terms of the types of rhetoric that they put in the public domain in the run-up to the election.
What did they say?
Well, if you remember, when we were in government, we had a lot of arguments and discussions about the size of government. I remember from the very onset, the former president was accused of creating positions to give jobs to the boys. Some even mentioned my name, and they even questioned why people like my good self and others like Professor White were even brought in as presidential staffers.
You're one of the boys.
Well, that was the perception that they gave. The argument they were making was that the number of appointees had an impact in public expenditure, and therefore having as many as President Mahama had appointed, which I think from the statistics that I have seen is I think 84 or so. 83, 84 or so. It raises questions, therefore. So if you had 84 and they had a problem with that, and they have 110, obviously you should expect people to have.
So your difficulty is what?
The difficulty is that, first of all, it creates what we said earlier on, the minority, duplicity of responsibilities. Secondly, the sheer number has implications for the public purse. I've been there before, so I know.
Tell me about it.
Conservatively, with the 110, it shouldn't cost the state less than 20 million Ghana cedis a year.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So I mean, if you
tell me by your experiences, not what you benefit by having the acquaintances or having your fellows who have been ministers, etc. let's say on a normal line item in a budget to cater for a certain appointee who is a top minister in government, what would be some of the line items?
The figures
You get
change in
fuel?
totality,
You get
but
what?
in terms of the line items,
Yes.
which are usually
Well, I just
indicated,
mentioned items,
they're always
not money.
indicated in your letter of appointment.
You get salary, yes.
You get your salary. You get fuel. At our time, it was through a coupon book that you had to take to a transport division to sign.
It still costs.
Twice a week. You get a saloon car. Our president had decided that rather than the previous practices, the four-wheel drives were going to be in a pool and would only be assigned to you when you are going out of town for work. So we had a pool of four-wheel vehicles. But at least every appointee that I knew had access to a saloon car. Of course, you enjoy your annual leave. Depending on your position on the totem pole, you are entitled to security, both a personal security person and somebody to also keep you secure in your place of residence. So it's a long list.
Do you get allowances for?
No, not as far as
accommodation?
Accommodation, yes. Accommodation is included as well. So the state has to make sure that you are properly accommodated. Travel only comes in when you due for your vacation, but it is not part of your benefit. For example, if your vacation is due and you need to travel, go visit your family, those arrangements can be made, but it is not.
You mean they are facilitated?
Standard. Yes,
okay.
It is not standard. But be as it may, it is an issue that we must discuss. And it is not just the impact on the public purse that Ghanaians worry about. It is also about the fact that whether a big government is justified at a time when the current government itself has complained about the challenges that we face. I mean, we were talking about a budget, but if you listen to the finance minister very carefully, some of the items he listed to justify what we in the opposition even contested, which was a reduction in earmark funds, which was a basis for which we refused to vote.
Yesterday.
Yes, yesterday. Was that there wasn't a lot of fiscal space because most of the
and if you talk fiscal space for the ordinary viewer out there is the room to tax more people or create to maneuver and generate
resource availability
and to generate more
was tight.
Limited,
okay.
Yeah.
So is that not? I mean, just the normal thing.
Fiscal space.
Yeah, fiscal space. So he talked about wages and salaries, for example. He talked about servicing our debt, and then earmark funds as well. And I think he added corruption, if I remember, which of course is debatable because I wonder how he defines that and how that becomes.
But for
part
all
of
the
the
things
equation.
about relatedly to the budget, if
No,
you look
but no, the point I'm making is this. Now, if you have outlined all of these to justify not allocating what we thought was reasonable resources to critical sectors of the economy, and yet you then go on to even justify further the reduction of earmark funds, the District Assembly Common Fund. One would have thought that you'll be very conservative in the numbers of people you are bringing on board to supposedly help resolve the same problems that you have identified. The argument we are making is that the sheer number of ministers has a possibility of exacerbating the problem that this government itself has identified.
How?
And says it is seeking. I've just told you that it's not going to cost less than 20 million Ghana cedis a year. Obviously, if the numbers were smaller, and in industry, in business, I know he knows a thing or two about business. If you feel that you are squeezed, things are critical, you downsize. And that is what is called efficiency.
You downsize and rationalize.
That is it. You don't expand. And then you say efficiency. Obviously, you don't have the men then.
So that you reduce the overheads.
You should be able to use lesser men to achieve the goal that we have used more men and you claim we have not been able to achieve. So it's a quagmire. You say one thing and you are doing the opposite.
Let me help you. It's a conundrum.
Ah, very well.
But for example, you look at the initial appointees and the announcements and the approvals that were made, the criticism not only coming from the other side of the political divide, but indeed from civil society and and key social commentators were that some of the roles were duplicated. And then also, for example, you have a Minister of Information, and then you're going to have 3 deputies. I know that we've had scenarios in the past in which we've had 2 in the previous administration and all that. What could be the justification for having too many people in one position, and even sometimes replicating their roles in different portfolios?
Well, first, let me. So essentially, you are asking about replication and too many people, many people and replication. First and foremost, I don't believe that roles are replicated at all, unless you can point out to me what you will deem as a replication. Look, one of the major problems we have had.
I'll give an example when it's done.
Okay, no, I'll gladly yield to you so that.
Yeah, very well. Just one quick one. You notice that a minister of state at the presidency has been appointed in charge of agric. Yeah, we have a substantive minister for agric with deputies. I think 3 deputies as well. So, I mean, truly, that is duplicity of responsibility.
Dr. Clement Park, until and unless they are, how do they say it, scheme of, they are giving their schedule, I think it might be going ahead of yourself to say that it is a duplication. Completely. Yeah. Unless you see their how do you call it in management, when you manage human resources, when you give somebody his activity, job description,
a JD.
Yeah. When you give somebody their job description,
and then you add a KPI.
Yes.
But shouldn't that happen before the announcement?
Yeah. So yes. Do you know whether all of it has been done?
Well, I wouldn't know.
So I am saying that, to say that it is a duplication, because now you are talking about a minister in the office of the president, in a minister, substantive minister at the ministry, is duplication. I think that you are going ahead of yourself. I want to speak to, for instance, minister in the office of the presidency with an eye to follow about public procurement. Look, half of the budget is about procurement. And one of the things that we really and truly spoke against the previous government was the way procurements were done. I want to believe that fact is not lost on His Excellency the President, and wants to ensure that procurements are done by the book.
Do you think that we need a minister to ensure that?
Why not? You may have a civil service. In any case, sometimes you don't appoint ministers, but we need to go back and find out how many presidential staffers there were. Probably, when you add it on to their 84, you would go beyond this. I am hoping, I don't make the decisions, but from where I sit, I am hoping that His Excellency the President will give the necessary directives so that the fear of and it's genuine.
Is it not curious that you don't seem to be very vociferous on this?
Me?
Like usually you would have
it's
been
new
on
territory,
No, it's not for you to make to take my lead.
No, I think that I am presenting the same way I am.
Oh no!
Really? You are the one.
His passion has gone down.
No, he has passion.
Yes,
I think he's managing information. But he knows I know him very well. His voice is always the decibel.
So you want
the decibel levels of his voice.
I've been told.
I didn't know he was a language expert.
I've been told by several people that
he's always drowning his co-hosts, his co-hosts as well as his other panelists.
I have been told by several people that I am a little bit too hyperbolic. So I'm going through training.
And when did you start? This week I was listening to you somewhere. Which station did you appear this week? I was listening to you.
I've been on a tinker.
I listened to you.
You will find out that.
No. But
change has come.
But
change has come.
but in order not to dilute the whole conversation, how the cost and the enormity of the task, the cost.
This is where I was coming to. Dr. Park has said that there are 84, had a cost of about 20 million cedis. Is that right?
No, I say yours is likely to have a cost.
Well, I am very hopeful that there will be some directive from His Excellency the President to ensure that cost is curtailed and cost is managed. You see, I don't for my life understand why a minister must have a salon and also a four-wheel drive. And I'm honest about this. I don't for my life understand why, for instance, I'm an MP. And I say this honestly and sincerely. I think that, you see, when you come to Parliament House and you come to find 275 four-wheel SUVs parked, I think it's a little offensive. My view is that all of us as MPs, if we are coming from our houses to Parliament, we must come in a salon car.
So you usually use your salon?
I always use a salon car. I mean, if you're a minister of state and you are accommodated in cantonments.
You don't use small salon or Benz?
It is a salon car.
Okay.
It's a salon car.
Well, salon cars that cost us the four-wheel drives. You know.
I am talking about a salon car.
Okay.
So, for me, it even, you know, he spoke about perception. It creates a better perception about government. I am hoping that in all of this, we will go ahead. I have seen, and I want to commend him. His Excellency the President, since he became president, any time I have gone to a function and he had come, he comes in a salon car. And I think it is a very good example. I know for a fact, for instance, that the Minister for Finance comes in his car, a Toyota Camry or something like that, every day to work. I think it creates a very good impression. After all, if I live at Roman Ridge or I live in cantonments in a government bungalow and I'm coming to Parliament or I'm coming to the ministries on paved roads, what is the justification in driving a 5.7 liter Nissan Patrol or Toyota Land Cruiser? I am hoping that all of these things will come into play and bring some savings. At the end of the day, I want to insist, or I forcefully submit, that His Excellency the President has a mandate. He makes a choice, he makes a decision that to carry out this mandate, I need these number of people to do it. Let the end justify the means. In doing so, I am hoping and I'm very hopeful that he will keep an eye on cost. But at the end of the day, like I say, if he makes GDP growth at 3.5, if at the end of his first term, GDP growth is in the area of 8 and 9, okay, if we have a stable currency, if the disposable incomes of all of us, if we begin to get a lot more disposable incomes, if the cocoa farmer is getting the fertilizer, is getting his farm sprayed, he has a good producer price, okay, if my cousin now, who farms at Sisiaman, has improved his incomes over the year, then I am saying that it really does not matter whether the size was 70 or 110.
Okay, so you're saying that
the benchmark.
You're saying that you can appoint no matter the cost, and once you keep the people happy. Once you keep the people happy, that's cool.
I have spoken extensively about cost. I am saying I don't want to reduce it to a simple thing about the people are happy or the people are unhappy. I am saying that His Excellency the President was elected by the good people of this country because he made some promises to them. I want to state forcefully, you said that I am toning down. I want to state forcefully that we must permit His Excellency the President, to the extent that he has not broken the law, to select a team that will be able to deliver the mandate he has from the good people of this, to the extent that it is effective and efficient. I think that for me, the watchword is, was it effective? Was it efficient? Efficiency does not mean you have a small number. Neither does it mean you have a big number. Efficiency is that you have the right number to deliver on what you have set out to do. And this is the position I hold. And I want to believe. I don't speak for the president. I believe that this is what the president, His Excellency the President, has set out to do.
Well, the argument is very simple and straightforward.
Yes.
And
all arguments also seem to suggest that you, the critics,
where you stand,
especially on this appointment, seem to be very much preemptive.
That is because the president himself,
the team even hasn't started working fully.
The president himself has called on us to be citizens and not spectators.
Oh, yes.
And it is the right of citizens to raise concerns if and when we deem it necessary. Well, leaders can choose to take those concerns into account and perhaps modify whatever directions they were treading on, and or ignore those concerns and then continue. So we as citizens and those of us in the minority, it is our responsibility to point these things out. But truly, the argument that we have to wait for the outturn, the outcome, before we draw attention to what are obvious developments in the political history of our nation that we are not accustomed to, it's not fair. It has never happened in the history of our country that we've ever had a government this size. We are pointing out the burden on a system that this current government claims was not conducive.
Is it just that this current government is
social
claiming? Is it not true? Economic indicators are there.
Very well. So why are you trying to burden an already burdened system? That is one argument. But how do you truly justify 3 deputy ministers of information? What is the justification for that?
Agric also has more.
How do you justify
it has equal number.
3 deputy ministers for Agric and still have a minister of state at the presidency in charge of Agric? You move certain responsibilities away from certain ministries, and one would have thought that should have not triggered an increase in the number of ministers there. But we see a pattern. And we cannot wish the implications of this away. Yes, we all want an improvement. Of course, the good people of Ghana voted for change. But you see, change can be positive or negative. Change is not always positive. But if it is change that is only going to worsen their conditions in terms of the city bolting,
what shows you that
prices
what
going
shows
up,
you that the ordinary Ghanaians' condition is worsening? For example,
having a bloated government.
We've had reduction in taxes for people who import spare parts.
How many people import
Kaya
spare
Ye
parts?
would not be paying.
It is not how many people. It is not how many people. But when they import the spare parts, when I sit in a lorry from Accra,
it has an effect on pricing.
Roland, what is the definition of a spare part? It wasn't even clear in the budget. It's just a spare part.
Oh,
tell me the definition of a spare part. Truly, what is a spare part?
Just go to Abusoka and you see the definition just in front of you.
So that is good enough. That is good enough.
And then, for businesses, for each sector, we have, we call it
and
value.
Does it cover industry?
We call it the value chain. And if you look at the value chain of businesses, you have the central point where the business is, and then the periphery and the referrals for which you have the derivatives. Now, if you take a look at spare parts, for example, it's a line item, let's say for a vehicle owner who knows that I'm having a budget or my overhead for a certain vehicle for the year.
That's right.
And if I know that my vehicle is going to have repairs 2 times in a year, ultimately I'll factor that when I know that the cost implication for me changing my parts definitely will have an implication on the fares that I'm going to advocate the GPR to you allow me to charge. So ultimately it should trickle down. It will trickle down to those who commute daily using public transport.
That is what we hope.
Trickle down to even farmers who cut their goods from rural areas to urban areas.
That is
so if you perhaps maybe I may seem to have been arguing on
that is what we hope. we would find out whether it is indeed
Why
going
being
to trickle down.
pessimistic?
I'm not being, we are not being realistic.
Yeah.
We all know the system and the way it functions. Some of us have had the chance to know the workings of the importers and exporters. And there's
Because
no
of the role you played the
Yes,
last
yes,
time,
there
yeah.
is no guarantee that simply because the tax on the importation of undefined spare parts, whether it is new or old, whether it includes spare parts for industry or only automobiles, it is not clear. We still don't know the definition, and I think that is important. But be as it may, we know of instances where goods of all kinds have been brought into this country.
Can I see the graphic?
And yet, tax or no tax, it has not reflected. So just because the government has abolished, just because the government has abolished duty on spare parts.
So you're talking on
quote, unquote,
precedents, based on past.
I know what
hindsight.
happens there. There are a lot of unscrupulous importers who are definitely going to take advantage of this.
All right.
They are going to bring in spare parts. They are not going to reduce the prices. We are going to lose revenue that hitherto we were getting. And the trickle-down effect that we are wishing for is not going to happen. And you have no way of holding them accountable because you have given them a blank check. But be as it may, the other argument that we need to make is the possibility of Ghana becoming a dumping ground. Those of us, and I know he knows this, those of us who have lived in other parts of the world before, the so-called advanced countries, we know that they have challenges with disposing their waste. All you have to do is to go and put a 40-foot container behind a mechanic shop in Vancouver, British Columbia. And I can tell you that within 2 days, it will be full of all kinds of parts. And you are going to bring those to Ghana.
You're taking it down to Africa.
And you are going to come. There are even entities which are making a lot of money shipping this waste,
cutting out trash
to different parts of the country.
They consider it trash.
Well, yes, and it is.
Okay.
Because it is not useful. How do we even verify and confirm the quality of the parts that are going to come? Now that we have opened the floodgates and we say it is free to bring in. Make no mistake, there are good, decent businessmen and women who will do what is right and will not abuse the abolition of the tax on the importation of spare parts. But I can also tell you on authority, based on what I know in the import-export industry, that there will be many more who are going to take undue advantage of this development to flood this country with obsolete and indeed useless parts, which are going to start clustering in different parts of the country, much more like we had with the old fridges, much more like we had with the old TV sets, and we would pay more money to dispose of those obsolete pieces of spare parts which are going to come into the country by virtue of the abolition of
it's as if that literally you're telling Ghanaians here in Ethiopia. I mean,
no,
just repeating the refrain and the mantra. It's,
at all.
And it's
at all.
It's as if you
at
don't.
All. You see, Roland, the real problem I have with the positions that Dr. Apak and his colleagues in the minority take is that you used a certain word. They are prejudging the matter. They are
preempting.
They are preempting, and it's happening in Parliament. In the debate in Parliament.
Well, you know that has always been the nature of political business.
Oh, yeah.
Not long ago, you were always preempting.
Yeah, no. I think that it is when you begin to implement, and then you begin to see, then you would have, then you can say, I'll give you two very clear. Dr. Park has gone through an exercise just like this morning. But I'll start with what happened in Parliament.
Because it's what we're discussing at the budget.
I sat, and a lot of the arguments about this free SHS. And now that you are going to do this, it will not, the quality will deteriorate. It will not. This program will start in September 2017.
Yes.
It has not even rolled out. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Then you are spelling doom. It is okay for me. It is okay for anybody to begin to question the figures and all of this. Okay. But to say as a matter of fact on authority that it will fail, it will flop. I think it's not right.
Did we really say it will
Oh
fail?
yes, I heard several people say, I am happy when people caution. Have you looked at this? Have you considered this option? It is okay. That is good for the debate. That is good for building a system that works. But if you take a very pessimistic view, like my very good friend Clement is doing here this morning, there has been, the government said that we will remove duties on spare parts. You see, for instance, again, government has said that it will remove duties on some medicines that are not manufactured. This is a very familiar terrain for me, so it might be a good example. Indeed, it is not even with us. Your government removed some duties on some medicines that are not produced here. Tell me, did it end up in a dumping situation? No. The Ministry of Health, together with all the stakeholders, will sit down and do a list. And it is that list that will come to Parliament, to subsidiary legislation, okay, together with finance, to determine that these are the medicines that will enjoy this. Similarly, I believe that if you wait till the end of this month, we will find the spare parts or a definition of the spare parts. Like you said, what is the definition of a spare parts? Whether it covers brand new, it covers home second hand, like all of us buy. We all of us buy home second hand.
Yeah,
ties.
we do. We do.
Okay.
We do.
All of us buy.
Home second hand what?
Ties.
Oh, you don't buy home second.
Oh, come on.
Please.
Come and see my car now.
Oh, yeah, when you do.
He does.
All of us do.
He does.
You see, so let us define, let us
No,
elaborate.
but seriously, I used to buy home seconds and I bought a new one.
You have stopped.
No, I haven't stopped. I saw different. There's a difference.
Of course.
Because the new one lasts longer. Actually,
But Clement, Roland, who doesn't know this? What if your money is not enough?
Well, I know. Sometimes your money is not enough, so you have to go for
Yes,
home. I know.
that is what we all live with.
But I mean, you can afford.
Oh, come on, who said? Is it written on my forehead?
Oh, it's written, more than
nice
written.
one. You see, so I think that Dr. Clement, you are going ahead of yourself. The matter will come to Parliament. We will define what is allowed and what is, and this business of dumping, it's not something that was started today. One of the major challenges we have in this country, okay, is electronic waste. Thankfully, in the last days of the NDC government, we passed the e-waste management law.
That's right.
The only thing you have done is that you made such a big boo-boo, phenomenal boo-boo, when it came up to who should build the e-waste facility. I mean, it's so embarrassing. So that the matter is in court today. You understand? So, willy-nilly, we will get there. Okay. The challenge, you see, I really and truly think, like some of the things, dumping and all of this, the challenge is that there is a certain lacuna in the law. So people can do things. But I believe
you don't think people would dump, already they dump?
They dump. For instance, e-waste. There was no law. So anybody could go anywhere and bring anything.
And bring to
and we would take it. Because there was no law, either by law or by regulation.
And yesterday in Parliament, the majority in Parliament, they defended the budget, while you, the minority, said it ignored essential sectors. Yeah, I mean, certain sectors were not catered for. What did the minority mean by that?
Well, I think, as has been the case when the budget is presented on behalf of the president by the minister, members of parliament get to debate it, and then conclusions are reached. Now, depending on the nature of the budgets and how the two sides scrutinize it and the conclusions they reach, they may decide to either approve or not approve. Well, if you have the numbers, as the saying goes, the minority can have its say and the majority would have its way. So yesterday, of course, was the last day of debate on the budget. And so leadership had the opportunity to make submissions. But a lot of issues came up, to some extent quite dramatic, on the floor of Parliament. And I think it all began with the Speaker not recognizing our minority leadership when they stood up at the time when the majority leader was making his submission. And indeed, in parliamentary practice, it is the case that when leadership on either side rises at the time when the other side is making a submission, whether it is the leader or not, the Speaker certainly should be able to give the opportunity to the side that has risen to speak, whether it is a point of order or any other reason why that leader rises. And so our side felt that we were not respected and that it was a breach of what is a standard procedure in parliaments across the world, not only confined to ours. The other issue that came up was also in the area of time allotted. We also felt that the majority side was giving more time than we were giving for our closing submissions. Indeed, a speaker on the majority side was absent. And so Mr. Speaker allowed proceedings to continue, whereupon our deputy minority leader spoke. And after he had done his submission, the name of the person who was to speak on behalf of the majority was absent. And so Mr. Speaker proceeded then to call on the minority leader to speak. Thereafter, the majority leader took the floor. And Mr. Speaker asked whether the majority leader wanted to use the time which was allotted to the other speaker from the majority side who was not in the House. And we felt that was totally unfair because the time given to majority leader and minority leader and even other speakers was negotiated. And so Mr. Speaker allotting or giving the opportunity to the majority leader to use the time that should have been voided by virtue of one of their representatives not being in the House, created an unfairness against us. And so we had these two concerns. And the last issue too was when it came to voting on the budget. Our leadership had made it very clear that we had a lot of challenges with the budget, as you had rightly indicated. We raised a lot of concerns. But one of the fundamental issues that we raised was the proposal by government to reduce allocation to earmark funds, where the Constitution makes it very clear that in the case of the District Assembly Common Fund, the allocation should not be less than 5% of national revenue. But they argue that it was tax revenue. And yet, if you look at the proposal,
what does the Constitution say?
It says national revenue. It doesn't say tax revenue. It's there. We can look at it. But if you look at the proposal that this government has made, and per the calculations that we have done, the allocation, if the amendments that government is proposing were to come into being, the allocation to the District Assembly Common Fund will be less than the 5% of national revenue. So we have said that we didn't want to be part of breaching the Constitution. And on that and a lot of other bases, we were not going to approve the budget.
Just a show of force by the minority.
It's not just a show, it is our right. We have every right to point out.
Indeed, you do have a right.
Yes, we have the right to point out.
But also a show of force showing
the fact that what government seeks to do is a breach of the Constitution. And I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of today, some citizen, perhaps even including myself, were to go to court to try and seek an interpretation. Because it is very clear.
Very well.
It is very obvious.
Again, you're right.
Yes, well, I'm a citizen. So I think that is within my right
You're not a spectator.
to do that. But in any case, we also had an issue with the vote itself. Because he knows, as our standing orders indicate, that before a vote can take place in the House, it says Order 109, No question for decision in the House shall be proposed for determination unless there are present in the House not less than half of all the members of the House. I'm not going to read everything. But as of yesterday, when the question was called, there was less than half of us in the
Did
House.
you take the numbers?
We checked. We also checked. We keep numbers. We know how many of
Did
us
you take the numbers?
were on our side. And
Speculative.
we know how many of you
All right.
were on your
Speculative.
side.
Speculative.
And on an important matter of this
Dr.
nature,
Apang.
which is controversial, at a time when we had stated very clearly that we're not going to approve.
Can you feel his voice now?
The best thing to do would have been to allow for a vote. And it gives provision for Mr. Speaker to have asked that those in favor stand up for a head count. Those opposed stand up for a head count.
All right.
So that we would have put this thing to rest. So we feel that we were not treated fairly. We think that Mr. Speaker certainly needs to move away from implementing draconian measures against the minority. We know that he has had sympathies with the ruling party and government.
Like the previous speaker.
But as a speaker today,
like the previous
we
speaker.
expect Mr. Speaker to be fair and even-handed.
Like the previous
Very
speaker.
well. But even following that, in the budget in itself is the policy of having
more
a free.
diabolical.
I hear so.
In the budget in itself is a policy of having a free SHS, and already we're being told by the head of Department for Economics at the University of Ghana that Professor Peter Kotti, saying that the ongoing debate about the free high school should be put in a certain context in which the policy in itself should target only poor students or poor schools in poor areas.
Very good suggestion, very good input. I am saying that a matter is not cast in stone. His Excellency the President's view is that every Ghanaian, and Dr. Clement Opang will tell you,
I do.
he will tell you that the pressure on an MP to pay school fees.
Yep.
You are pressured to pay school fees?
Yes. Even those of us from parts of the country where it is claimed that school fees are not paid, we pay school fees.
Oh,
The
okay.
pressure on an MP, and very many students would miss out. I mean, the statistics are there. Half of the people that finish JHS cannot proceed because of some constraints, one way or another. Even if only half of that half is because of finance, if you would create a situation where they will go to school, for me it is better. If we want to begin to say that like the school, like the best secondary school in this country, Prempeh College, we must separate it and let people pay. They are all options, but it does not
I
detract.
thought the best school was in Fansipin.
Excuse me,
Okay.
Well, don't get into that debate.
but it does not detract from the fact that my cousins that live in Tiboso or Sisiaman must have access. They must be able to take their.
Oyabedu's son.
Oh yeah, my cousin. Oh, he says I should greet you.
Thank you. The one who rose
She's
plantain
still there.
on the main East
She's still there, but she says business
not
is picking
Yabedu?
up. Yabedu.
Yabedu.
Business is picking up for her now. Change has come and business is picking up for
And
her.
the son is likely to go to senior high school.
The son is already there.
Oh, okay.
Well, you know there are
You see,
issues with this
but
policy.
I can tell you, he has another son. He was supposed to start in September last year. He's staying at home because Yabedu knew that in September 17, he will go for free.
Well, I hope he's going to go to first year.
He's
But
going
you
to
see,
first year.
You see, we have never been opposed to free senior high education.
You mean as a party?
Yeah, but it's very clear. Our approach was the gradualist approach. And
The
that's that
UGCC approach.
They were going to come and do it.
Oh, they have become the
they were going to
UGCC
come and
now.
do it wholesale.
But we are now telling Ghanaians,
But you see,
free SHS now.
but you see,
Like a back. How roles change.
no.
How
But you see,
roles change.
Roland, the problem is that
Can you feel the momentum in this?
there
movement?
isn't.
How roles change.
They are saying this, but they are not expanding educational infrastructure.
And that's a worry for
It
you.
is a great
And
worry.
it's actually
Look,
a
let
worry
me tell you.
also for
Roland, when
also
Kwame Nkrumah
for-
decided in
also for
1952 or
PE
53
Exactly.
that everybody must go to primary school for
You
free,
understand?
there were not enough schools, but innovation.
But you see-
People did shift.
So now your
And maybe
party,
you, Clement Abak, or me, that lived in Kumasi.
So now Nanado is in
I've
Nkrumah.
done shift before.
So now
As
Nanado is
second
in
primary.
Nkrumah.
So
you see, the problem is,
you see, if there was
expanding.
no shift, maybe you wouldn't have gone. Me, I wouldn't have gone.
Well-
And then we would not be sitting here and doing this
So you are
intellectual.
going to customize it then. So you see, no
If it
space.
happened in one era, who
No,
says
the
it cannot happen in
educational
another era?
infrastructure. is a main challenge.
But we have a
among
story.
many.
We have a story on nurses. I think it's about 2 minutes. We want to play it quickly and then, or play a bit of it, and then we'll do a discussion on it on nurses. And I know that we'll get that story quickly ready, and then we'll try and get some short responses. Okay, so let's watch this.
The agitation from the nurses follows the suspension of recruitment of 8,634 nurses into public health facilities in the country. In a statement signed by the Health Minister, Dr. Kweku Agyemang-Manu, in February this year, the minister explained that the suspension is not a cancellation, but to allow the ministry finalize all issues related to financial clearance. The erstwhile Mahama-led administration in November 2016 cleared finances for the recruitment. This decision by the ministry has not gone down well with the nurses, who are demanding explanation from the health ministry. Numbering over 200 from across the country, the nurses have been picketing at the forecourt of the health ministry since 7 a.m. Wednesday.
We are going to sleep here until they lift the ban for the posting. I came all the way from Wa. My landlord have sacked me from the house. Our parents are frustrated with us. Some even say we failed the course because of sitting in the house for 1.5 years.
Which school are you coming from?
I'm coming from Wa Nursing Training College. Our parents, my father said he's an illiterate man. He said, I've failed the course and I don't want to tell him the truth. I said, no, it's still I've failed. I've bonded by the government, so I have to wait for that job to come. The ban was lifted for the posting while they pasted the list. And by the time some of us from the village, when we get to the Ministry of Health, the directory, the papers were no more there. And they said, Minister have suspended the recruitment process. So we want the ban to be lifted today before we leave.
Well, no matter what it is, nursing students, well, there are no more students, graduated, gotten their licensure. At the end of the day, they can be absorbed into the Ministry of Health. Straight employment, something that the Akufo-Addo-led government, when they were party in opposition, had argued that the NDC was not doing enough to alleviate the plight of those post-trainee nurses. I see you're checking your phone. You're getting some facts on the subject.
No.
But this is not good enough.
Which one?
No, not absorbing them into the Ministry of Health. It's not good enough.
Did you hear what the gentleman said?
What did he say?
He has been sitting at home for 1.5 years. It is 3 months now. Hold on, take it from me. Take it from me. In another 6 months, this situation will be a thing of the past.
A letter just came, I think just when the Minister of Health was appointed, putting a caveat or perhaps a stop on these absorptions.
You see, one week before elections, people have finished nursing school and have been sitting at home. I know this for a fact. People have finished nursing school and have been sitting at home for 2 years and some for 3 years. 1 week before elections, you had scrapped nursing training fees. You had scrapped and you had a ban. Every day we talk about it, then you say no. The IMF conditionalities did not include a ban on employing nurses. People have been sitting at home for 2 years and more. Then 1 week before elections, you say that you have given financial clearance to employ 8,000 health workers.
Well, that's good.
Where was it? You just wrote a letter. Did you factor it in the provisional budget? We had passed the budget before. We had passed a provisional budget before. Go and find out, Roland. You are a newspaper person. You are a media person. Go and find out. In the budget that was passed, in the interim budget that was passed, was there a line item to cater for the 8,600 new? No, there wasn't. There wasn't. So you will need to come back now and rework. I mean, you see, let's put this political expediency thing aside. I state as a matter of fact that letter was just a letter written for political purposes. If there was a line item, if the budget had catered for it, why not? I don't like nurses to sit at home. But we must go back and rework and ensure that. But I frankly, I don't believe that in a soup all the 8,000 can be taken. But I want to believe that this government will work hard to ensure that over 2 or 3 year period, everybody who qualifies finds.
So people will sit home 2-3 years.
Well, a backlog has been. Do you remember in the PNDC NDC era when people were made, university students were made to sit at home?
Well, we are gone on strike and the schools were closed.
Oh, come on. At that time, I didn't think you would justify this. Now you are justifying this.
No, we had gone on strike and the schools were closed.
That time you were in Commonwealth, right?
Yes, I was going to second year. So we did 4 years instead of.
Was it a pleasant duty for you?
Well, no serious student wants to be home for
I
a
do
year.
understand that.
but
It created a backlog.
Chief Vandal.
We were in the forefront of the action.
Yes.
Oh, you are Deputy Chief Vandal?
Yes.
Fable.
Oh, Ebe Fable was the Chief Vandal then. I remember that some of my mates were part there.
Sure.
You had red armbands, grasses, and things like that.
You will still see some very crafty pictures of us in our day in Commonwealth, doing what we do best, but keeping the brain very sharp as always.
Oh, fantastic place.
So
I didn't go to Legon, but
Roland, you see, it is their cup of tea. We did our bit. All of these that he's enumerating may have contributed to why the people have decided that they want to give the MPP an opportunity. But you understand that governance is a continuum. And simply because it is 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month to an election,
and a directive has been given,
should not prevent those in charge of the helms of running the system from doing what is right and is in the interest of the nation state.
And it's 3 months into the administration.
And therefore, if we had started something and they have come, as the saying goes, you inherit both the assets and liabilities. And I believe this is an asset because providing employment opportunities for Ghanaians who are qualified, for whom a clearance has been given, I don't think that they should be a matter of. I have no reason to accept the proposal that he is making in terms of questioning
I am saying that you are the media people.
The
you
authenticity
of
that document. But Roland, you see, it is not just the nurses. National Service was the same thing. The recruitment process had even ended. Letters had even gone out to those who had been selected to come and resume work.
And I know the recruitment process has started way back in August.
Exactly. So it is obvious that this government views with suspicion everything that we had done.
I disagree.
And it is part of their policy. Even the Attorney General has indicated that they are going to review all contracts.
Some of the things.
The director of GPHA. So it is obvious that they have decided that everything that we have done, and as far as in their political calculation, it is not going to inure to their benefit. They want to review it. And let's just tell it the way it is and call a spade a spade. It is as simple as that. But we have started the effort to create the opportunities. That's why we're building the hospitals, building cheap compounds so that we can absorb as many qualified nurses as possible. The area of education, you talked about it, we're expanding infrastructure. Definitely the issue about the allowances had to do with increasing the intake so that we can go on to implement free senior high school in a gradual manner that will not create problems. In trying to do a good thing, if you don't do it right, if you don't do your projections properly, you can end up injuring the very system that you are trying to correct. And these are some of the concerns that we have. But we wish them well, because if it goes well, it is going to augur well for all of us. There's not going to be a difference between Dr. Park's son and Honorable Ajaraku's son if education is free in Fumbisi, senior high agri school. I think that it is going to benefit me, because then I won't have to be paying school fees, which I think that, I'll welcome.
But we'll still have to remain on health. And I don't know whether for 2 days or for the last 3 days, whether you've been watching and also listening to Joy. You get to know that the focus had been on completing a maternity block at the Komfo Teaching Hospital that had been in abeyance for the last 3-4 decades. It's as serious as it could be. But you look at the documentary, the plight of the mothers and especially the infants who are born, and sometimes the state in which they are. Your comment on this?
when I came in, I had never met Seth Kwame Boateng.
Oh, you have never?
Yes, but
Okay.
I met him and I congratulated him profusely for the very good work he's doing. I listened, and for me, I would say that, and please understand me, I was not too surprised because I have a reasonably fair idea about the status of healthcare delivery in this country. It is not good. It is not good. I mean, we are talking about Konfanoche in Kumasi. Indeed, you even have alternatives. If you can afford, you may decide that, and there are a lot of places you can go and have a delivery. Can you imagine what is happening in some other places, in some far-flung places? Can you imagine? So you see, there are challenges. Sometimes when you say it, Dr. Clement Park will say you are being political. But look, last week, a colleague's driver had what you call a cerebrovascular accident. We will call it simply a stroke.
Cerebrovascular accident.
Cerebrovascular, CVA. Okay. It was not a major one, it was a transient ischemic attack. This gentleman was in Ridge Hospital. This is somebody who had suffered CVA. There was no bed in the emergency room.
Old Ridge. Not the...
But the new Ridge does not work.
But it will work.
Oh, it will work.
That's why it was built, to improve health.
It will work. There's a saying my friend told me, that is, he went to visit somebody, and then they told him that the master has gone, he has not come back. So the man, after waiting for 2 or 3 hours, the master was not coming. So he told the man he went to meet, the man who was taking care of the master, I was like, Master, now I have to go. Then the man told him, as for master, he go come, but the quick. As for Rich, he go work, but the quick. After we have spent colossal sums of money to do it.
We spent what?
Colossal, gargantuan sums of money. It is a white elephant.
Oh, please.
Oh, come on.
Honorable,
Roland,
I disagree.
is it working?
I disagree.
Is it working?
The system may not be as efficient as we all want it to be, but to describe it as a white elephant.
Roland.
Yes.
Seth Kwame Boateng is here. Let him go and find out.
And do a whole documentary again on
and
this.
do a documentary on the Ridge Hospital. After we have spent about 400 million, let him go and find out.
He should. I would also want to find
the facility,
out whether his claims can be justified.
The facility that was commissioned or inaugurated.
You know, are you familiar with Collison
It's
Team?
not working.
You know Collison Team?
No,
okay. Collison Team is the chairman of Parliament's Committee on Health. A very good morning to you, Honorable in Team.
Good morning, my brother.
Now we're discussing health, but more importantly, zeroing in on the subject of the uncompleted maternal health or maternity block of the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital, which had been a subject of talk, especially when we had that documentary, the first in the series of Special Assignment by Seth Kwame Boateng. Now, importantly, I know that you have had a consistent talk on this subject. How quickly would we get hands-on approach to get enough funding to complete this project?
Oh, Koju, good morning. I really thank you and I appreciate the work you are doing, the advocacy role. It's really heartwarming, and I get touched anytime I hear you guys talking about developmental issues. I think that is the way to go. It's just put those of us in position, strategic position on our toes, so that if we are making on some of the issues, then we become become tired. Now, on the issue of the Konfanoche, like you rightly said, it is true. The project started as far back as 1976, and through the era of example, it was given the necessary push until some time when it became a standstill. And then somewhere in 2002, when His Excellency President Ford came in, there was a serious investment. The initial thinking of constructing a 200-bed capacity was expanded to a 1,000-bed capacity because of the strategic location of that. There was a massive investment, but then it wasn't so much enough to be able to complete it. Unfortunately, when the tenure of His Excellency expired, the thinking was that there will be a continuation. so that it brings finality to that. Unfortunately, that has not happened. And it's a worrisome situation because when you consider the quantum of money government have been putting in the Ministry of Health over the years, and then you look at the health indicators, issues of maternal mortality, issues of infant mortality, issues of under 5 mortality, which are the necessary criteria to measure the performance of a ministry, are always and consistently going down. And that very suggested that some of these projects, which may address some of the teaching problems, has to be looked into. And then we have had a serious discussion with the new Minister for Health. And then my understanding is that he's going around trying to get a substantial money, a reliable or dedicated fund that would be enough to complete it. We don't want to rely on the issue of budgetary allocation, whereby it's released. Sometimes it's also not released, and then we get it. We get nothing done. And I'm pretty sure that with the kind of pressure you guys are mounting and pressure from the end of the health committee, I think that we are very soon we get a dedicated fund that will be enough to complete the project. So kudos.
But at the end of the day, we know that the colossal amount of, borrowing the words of your colleague here, that is needed to complete this project, $70 million. The assurances you're giving should be prompt and apt. Otherwise, it just becomes lip service.
Yes. It's not colossal in terms of the outstanding work and in terms of the things that needed to be done. And then in terms of those facilities that we've done over the years, when you do a comparative analysis, you realize that initially we're hearing 100 million, but then when the surveyors went down, we are getting some inspirational feeling from that, because we are no longer talking about that huge sums of 100 million and whatnot. But in short, we are going to look for money, a dedicated one, much more reliable one. But the emphasis here is value for money. We are so much interested in the value for money, as often alluded by His Excellency the President. We are not going to just provide infrastructure without considering the value for money aspect of it. So we still look at other options and see where we can get the most reliable, most efficient, most cost-effective means to address that. The bottom line is that all the stakeholders are committed to have the project completed as soon as practical.
From your side in Parliament, what can you do? I know that you're just the chairman of the Select Committee on Health, but what will you do?
Yes.
Are you going to lead a certain crusade in the House, or I know that you have rules by which you also operate?
Exactly. We have already started. Especially, we were even moved by the kind of advocacy role you started playing over the year. And then the committee at Aqua Safari over the weekend, we had to bring in the minister to tell us exactly what is it that this year's budget will not find it. So what is it that is going to put in place to have it and get money to do it? It was there from that discussion that we realized that there has been a move by some organizations, some contractors to look for a dedicated amount of money and to complete it. And I'm very optimistic. When you look at the composition of the health committee and the strategic nature of it's mainly Ashanti committee. Most of the members are from Ashanti region, including Honorable Mutaka is a member of the committee. Honorable Prempe is also part. Myself and some couple of people from Ashanti region, and not essentially because we are from Ashanti region, but because of the strategic position and the fact that we are going to deliver about 1,000 bed capacity maternity block. It will be a good thing. It will be great, and we cannot afford not to consider it. Consider having the dedicated fund to have it completed within the shortest possible time. As for that one, I can assure you we are going to work.
Well, thank you very much, though. But I also know you've been nominated as Deputy Minister for
rural development, Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development.
Okay, it's local government rural development, is that not it?
Yes, specifically.
And the criticism against you, the new nominees, is that just part of the bunch of job for the boys. What do you say about it?
No, you see, the challenge we have as a country is how we can come out with a strategic policies and programs that is designed to create jobs at the local level and then deal with issues of rural poverty. You know, rural poverty recently has been exacerbated by this global climate change to the extent that the cocoa that we used to rely on is no longer giving us the tonnage that we have. So over the years, as a DC, I've always been trying to come up with a policy that will bring about a revolution in agriculture that will make us attractive so that the rural people position themselves to grab it. And I have done it over the years. And even as a member of parliament, I came out with a proposal that within the next 5 to 10 years of Finsunov should be leading when you talk about cashew production. I committed supporting 20,000 people and then...
Honorable Tim, you're not answering my question. The question I asked was that you are just one of the pack of several who are being just rewarded by the president for just being good to his campaign, to the party, etc.
No, that is exactly what I'm addressing.
Oh, okay.
That is exactly what I'm drawing. I have been put there strategically to address the foundation of the one district, one factory, in line with agricultural initiatives that we are trying to come out with. You know, hitherto, government just come out to establish a factory, put up a sugar factory without considering the source of raw material. That is the situation we find ourselves, and it's creating huge problems. But then we don't want to repeat that. We want to deviate from that. I am going to be there to be able to support my minister to initiate programs tailor-made in the agricultural sector to address the issue of one factory, one district.
Okay.
We're looking at the raw material basis, and you know the number of people who are going to be engaged.
Honorable Tim,
I was saying,
we're grateful. We're grateful. We're grateful.
And then we are going to work towards that. We're going to work towards addressing the challenges in rural unemployment, rural poverty, using agriculture as a tool. And then...
Honorable Tim.
Hello, my dear.
I'm convinced. I'm convinced. I'm sure when you appear before the appointments committee, it will be a wonderful session, and we'll be looking forward to it. Please have a great morning.
Thank you so much, my brother.
Okay, and Collins in team is the chairman of Parliament's Committee on Health. And your conclusions on the subject?
Well, I was just going to weigh in on the health issue. I mean, a healthy nation definitely is more productive. So healthcare and its improvement has and would always be a priority for every government. But I think that with the specific example given in as far as the Konfanoche situation is concerned, it also draws to attention the need for us as a people to continue to commit to taking over and continuing from where others have left off. We started, and we are hoping that where we have started will be continued by the current government, so that the citizens of this country, regardless of their ethno-linguistic or regional background, will have equal access to high-quality health care.
He's an anthropologist. I was not surprised he brought linguistics. Well, thank you very much. Dr. Clement Park is a member of parliament for Bulsa South.
Yes. Bulsa Mapusine.
Ah, okay.
Tell them, Solu.
Solu? What
Solua. Then they'll respond.
What language is that?
That's Bully.
Bully.
They'll respond Solu Nalom.
Solu Nalom.
That's right.
All right. And then also, Emmanuel Chamantingeja, who is a member of parliament for Ayawaso West Wagon. Eban Center Parliament.
That's right.
Parliamentarian.
My MP.
Thanks for joining me, sir.
I am happy to hear.
All right.
So
we are taking a break. When we
MPs.
come back, we'll have a lot more for you on the show. Stay on.